Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. On today's review, we take a look at the Spider-Man 2099 PS4 Sideshow exclusive. Today I'll be reviewing this figure in the following categories: accessories, articulation, design, is it essential, functionality, and price. Once all scores are totaled, I'll give you my opinion if this figure is a pass or a purchase. So if you're wondering why you're staring at this picture, it is because I threw away my box before shooting this part of the video. In addition to that, I've had this figure in my collection for many months. Just decided to review it, so here it is. So for accessories, it is simply a lot of the same. We get a Spider-Man base and stand, which we've seen multiple times. Of course, it's new for the different type of Spider-Man costume that we're getting. Then we just receive these web effects, which we've seen over and over. We've seen these so many times that I am not going to take the time to remove them from their foam casing. I'm just sick of seeing these pieces. Then we get a number of hands, I think 6 pair in total. Now the hands themselves are different. If I'm not mistaken, this is the only Spider-Man that sort of has the claws or long nails at the end. And the hands do have some texturing and painted well. And then we get what I think are web effect pieces, web shooters, excuse me. I'll find out a little bit later if this is exactly what this is. So as this Spider-Man continues, we just seem to get less and less accessories. Still no Peter Parker head. With the first release, we got a lot of the mini gadgets from the game. This time, this is all we get. It is very disappointing. So for overall accessories, I'm giving Spider-Man 2099 a 4 out of 10. So for articulation, the head is able to look up about that far. It's able to come down that much. Does rotate. You get a great amount of pivot. So with the arm, it is able to go up very far. Pretty surprised with that. You can see that the costume, however, is bunching. You're unable to get it to rotate a full 360. So just to give you an idea of that. And I'm pretty sure you can play around with the material, but I'm going to say just about that much. So you do have what feels like an upper bicep cut, excuse me. Pretty hard to tell with all of the material. The elbows are double jointed, bending in a good amount. The next point of rotation are on the wrist, and the wrists appear to be in a ball peg, so you can get the figure hands to go where you need them to be. Moving on to the torso, I can see that this is already going to be pretty restrictive. So there feels like an upper A and B portion, not a lot of movement. So crunching forward, just using the top part is about that much. Using the, I think that's a combination of top and bottom. Using the top really doesn't move back at all. Really don't get any pivot. You get some rotation, but it doesn't stay. Using the combination of the two, he crunches forward a decent amount, crunches back further, moving, and then you have rotation, but it doesn't stay in place, so really not going to count that. The legs are able to kick out about that much, move forward only that much, backwards a good amount, have upper rotation. Next point of rotation will be at the foot. Knees are double jointed, bending in that much. The foot is able to go all the way down, a great amount up. Pivot's good on inside, outside, and you do have toe articulation, which is tight. Almost forgot there is an acting butterfly joint, but it doesn't stay in place. So for articulation, there's no surprise here. This is very restricted for a Spider-Man figure, so for overall articulation, I'll be giving him a 6 out of 10. So for design, I think this is where this figure really shines. So I just want to bring him in pretty close so that you can see the texturing, and that carries through all the way from the top all the way down on this figure. Something that I really like are in certain areas, you have this shiny look. You can see it here, definitely apparent on the knees as well as the side, and you can also see it on the back. Not a lot of paint on this figure, as this is his design, not something, this is not a strike against Hot Toys, but the paint itself is done pretty well. Another thing that I like, certain areas you're able to see some muscle definition as well as expressions in the face. If you look like right around the collar, you can see some definition here, like just hovering over his anatomy, which I really like. And the same can be said for the abs, the side hair, the muscular around the chest. And if you look at the middle of the brow, right about there. Now, two things that are apparent when it comes to the suit. The first, which I noticed, is that this is missing that cape. So I had to go back and take a look at the game, as that cape is related to the comic version, not the PS4 version. So I did not see that cape in the PS4 version, so I will not be taking points off for that. Now, the other issue would be that the colors aren't as vibrant as they are on the game. The blues as well as the red or burgundy seems a bit muted. I would have liked if it would have had that pop to it. Something that I do like with the figure is that the way that it fits over him very well. That works well for the design, not so good for the functionality. If you turn him to the back, you can see the stitch work here is pretty sloppy, starting up high, coming low, but it is in the back, not the biggest deal. If you look in the front, it's really hard to find the stitching work. If you take a look here, you can see it running down where it should be on the side of the suit, and it's done okay. So for overall design, I'm going to give Spider-Man an 8 out of 10. So is this figure essential to your collection? Here's where it gets a little confusing. So the Spider-Man 2099 is a character that goes by the name of Miguel, is it O'Hare or O'Harris? I am not 100%. But he's in the future, the year 2099, and I believe he's Mexican and Irish. Now, the OG Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So if you're not Peter Parker, I'm definitely knocking some points off. However, this costume is suited on Peter Parker in the game. So I'm not sure how I make the distinction to focus on the actual character or Spider-Man Peter Parker just wearing this costume. I will try my best. So just to give an idea of ranking and where I stand, as I mentioned, Peter Parker, the OG Spider-Man, that character is a 10 in his traditional red and blue suit. The suit to follow that, in my opinion, would be the symbiote, the black and white suit. And then from that point on, I think the variations in Spider-Man costumes sort of get lower and lower as you're moving on to different costumes. So that you can follow me on the score, I will be deducting a point or two, being that this is not Peter Parker. I also will be deducting a point or two, being that this is not the original Spider-Man suit, nor is it the black and white symbiote. So as far as being essential to your collection, I'm going to give Spider-Man 2099 a 6 out of 10. So for functionality, I don't want to take the time to swap out each pair of hands, as I need a few pairs to show how to use the webs. So as you can look, you see more of the relaxed hands on him. He also comes with 2 fisted hands. Comes with 2 clawing hands. 2 web crawling hands. 1 flat hand, 1 pointing finger. And you have 2 web spitting, flinging hands. These are what we're going to focus on. So we're going to pop 1 hand off. Once that hand is off, you can remove this small part here. At least I think you do. And then we can put on this. Okay, that does not... Nope. It's not how you do it. Hold on. Okay, so it took me a considerable amount of time to figure out what to do. Even though we have instructions, the instructions were not clear to me. Maybe I just missed something. Show you pretty quickly. Here are the instructions, but I don't see anywhere to where it tells you to do what's needed in order to get this to work. So in order to get this to work, what you have to do, if you take a look at the hand, you pull this part and you can start to see that the hand is separating. So you remove that part fully, which leaves these holes. Make sure that you have the right piece. I'm going to say that this is the wrong one. Yep, this is the right one. As I can see, there are 2 holes on this side, 1 on the other. And then you do so, and there you are. So we're going to put this hand back on. In order to put it on, You know my preference is to have the pegs on the hand, but whatever. Lost a piece. Okay, so that piece stays on. You don't need to take that bracelet piece off. And then you just push the hand on like so. There you are. So I quickly removed the hand and placed it on this side as it was clearly on the wrong side. So now with one of the web effect pieces, you have this piece here to where you can port into this piece. So there you go, and it gives that Spider-Man spitting, whipping effect. Let's put this down for a moment. Let's go to one of the fisted hands, which has a hole on this side and this side. So for these hands, you're able to use this spider web effect. As you can see in the middle, there's nothing there. So simply place one of the holes at the bottom, the other at the top, and you can get Spider-Man to swing. If you want to see what it looks like, wrong hand. Let's pop that hand off. There he is holding it. So the hands are all easy enough to swap out. The web effect pieces work with the hands. As you can see, he clearly stands on his own. I have no issue standing Spider-Man the entire time. So what are the issues with functionality? It's the suit. Starting with the one thing all hot toy collectors already know, that with the suit, if you leave certain areas bunched up, like you can see here, there, it will certainly leave an imprint. So you have to be very careful with the poses that you leave this in, as it will damage the suit. The other issue with the suit itself is how restrictive it makes the body. I think that there's a fantastic body underneath, but unless you take it apart, you will not know, as this suit really restricts his movement. No one wants a Spider-Man that doesn't move, and this is where Hot Toys has to find improvement. Mezco has been able to find improvement in that area. It is 2021. It is no longer an excuse for Hot Toys not to be able to include articulation with their figures. They have to find a way to do this. Other companies have found a way to do this. So for functionality, I am deducting a point for each limb as well as the torso. So for overall functionality, I'll be giving Spider-Man a 5 out of 10. So for pricing, Spider-Man comes in at $265. That's before taxes, that's before shipping. Though in taxes, you're looking about $26. And from this particular website, shipping is about $20. Now, I was able to score this with a 10% code, but I did have to pay for shipping. But let's not throw in the code. So adding in taxes and shipping, you're looking at about $305. So now is this figure worth the price of admission? So let's see what it comes with. In terms of accessories, not much. Very disappointing. A lot of the same accessories that we continue to see with each Spider-Man figure that's released from Hot Toys. They could have given us so much more, such as a Peter Parker unmasked head. We could have gotten the spider sense effect that we have seen with at least one Spider-Man figure before. We could have gotten the wings as a throwback to the comic, but none of those things were included. In addition to that, even though it's a different costume, this is the same Peter Parker body that we're seeing over and over again. So the price should be going down, not up as it's been going. Add in the limited articulation for a character who is very articulated. That's just another area of being disappointed. Also throw in the suit, that you cannot leave it in certain poses for a long time, or any poses in that matter if the suit is creasing, as it will become damaged. And what I mean by damage, I want to clarify this. Two things can happen. One, the suit can start to break. The other one is you can have a permanent crease mark. So for pricing, to me, this figure is overpriced. It needs to be dropped down by at least $40. So for overall pricing, I'm giving this figure a 7 out of 10. That will give Spider-Man 29 an overall cliff score of. So now is this figure a pass or a purchase? So Spider-Man is the current character to receive the treatment of Iron Man and Batman, which means Hot Toys is just pumping out a sea of figures. So we're going to continue to see Spider-Man releases within the foreseeable future. There has been one that just recently dropped. Don't remember the name of that suit, but it has that sort of shimmer to it, I think under UV light or black light, something along those lines. Here's a picture of it, as I can't remember the name of the suit. I say all of this because there are going to be many versions to choose from. And if you are on a budget or simply don't want 50 Iron Man figures, which one should you choose? In my opinion, the Spider-Man 2099, even though it's not Peter Parker, I do feel like it's an important version of Spider-Man. So as far as being a pass or purchase, I'm going to say that this one is a purchase. So let's get Spider-Man down off this stand, turned around, and do a few size comparisons. Here's Spider-Man by itself. Here he is with what I think is a Hasbro 12-inch Titan series Spider-Man. I am not 100% sure. Here he is next to Alphonse Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. I still don't have batteries for this figure. Here he is next to the reissue of the Spider-Man Homecoming figure, which I am considering reviewing. And this Spider-Man is considerably taller, which makes sense as this is based on a Spider-Man who's still in high school. Let's move this and get to our last comparison. And here is the 3-0 Guts in his Berserker armor. Ah, you didn't know I collected those, did you? I'll probably be reviewing that figure soon. So thank you very much for tuning in to Mr. Clip's Toy Shop. I hope to see you during the next review.